Welcome back to the channel. This video is on environmental science and we're looking at the formation of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency here in America, the very large overarching agency that is funded by the government with its sole purpose to oversee the environment and all the issues and strategies and plans to maintain the environment in the US. So this video is looking at how the EPA was formed, what led up to the formation of the EPA, who signed it in through Congress and into law, and looking at the events that triggered the public into an environmental movement. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Before the EPA was formed in 1970, there were already various environmental policies and acts and government regulations that were in place across the 50 states. And there also was a thing called common law, which is basically in each area of the US, there would be a judge, a judicial panel, and the final say in any kind of case in common law would come down to the individual judge, and the law would be based on the judge's decision and opinion on that specific case. Now, in terms of the environment, in terms of pollution, in terms of any kind of waste, meant that each judge had its own or their own opinion and outcome on these different cases. So nothing was very consistent or regulated across even different localities and parts of each state, let alone the entire country. So this common law was very up in the air, so to speak. Then we also had the first ever act covering the environment, which was the Rivers and Harbor Act of 1899, and then came in the 20th century various other acts looking at various means of pollution and waste, which is the Air Pollution Act of 1955, the Clean Air Act of 63, the Solid Waste Disposal Act of 65, and the Defense Fund for the Environment of 67. And then we also had generally the era of conservation between 1945, after World War II ended, and 1962. Then after 62, we had the birth of the modern environmental movement due to the levels of public awareness to both ecology and the effect of the environment caused by humans. Such events in the mid-20th century across the US raised public awareness to the effect and the degradation that humans were having on our natural waterways, on our air, quality of air, and also on the terrestrial portion, the land, the natural beauty that this country has. These events were an eye-opener for the public and also the government in terms of the action they're going to take to ensure these events did not repeat itself. So like the smog event of 1963 in Manhattan, where it killed between 300 and 400 people. Then you had the California oil spill of 69 off the coast of LA and just made a huge mess of that ecosystem and coastline. They had the Missouri dioxin contaminations between various sites in Missouri where the CDC and the local authorities were baffled as to what was causing the death of these animals and serious health issues to the humans around these sites. And it was the dioxin, it was the Agent Orange that was used in Vietnam. Then we had the Lake Erie disasters, where the lake O2 levels were depleted and they were called dead lakes in the 1960s. Then we had the book Silent Spring that came out, which covered and discussed the use of DDT, the pesticide that was used in abundance since World War II and beyond, and that came out in 1962. Then last we had the Cuyahoga River, which was on fire due to the various pollutants that were flammable that were in the river, and this river just literally combusted and caught on fire, and many people in the area witnessed this and were literally terrified and aghast at this event that was unfolding, where this river would catch on fire multiple times due to the pollutants that were being dumped in this river, and that was in 1969. So all these events really occurred in a 10-12 year period around the 1960s and really raised the public awareness across the whole country through news outlets and tabloids and newspapers of to what humans are doing to the environment and how it's affecting all these people that live nearby these areas. After over a decade of various environmental disasters being made public, in 1968, Richard Nixon ran and was elected to the White House, and one of his election campaign topics was the environment and was the desire to clean up these sites and make the responsible parties pay for the various levels of pollution. And once in office, Nixon was able to sign the EPA in 1969, which was brought to Congress by Henry Jackson, a Democrat from Washington State. And this EPA was a comprehensive plan of action. And then it was signed in on January 1st of 1970 by Richard Nixon. Then, over the course of 1970, Nixon felt that it needed to be strengthened, needed more power behind it, more federal power in terms of the scope and scale that this newly formed act needed to become. So by December the 2nd, 1970, Richard Nixon converted and changed NEPA into the more comprehensive and stronger outfit of the EPA. So that was when it was signed into law by Nixon through the US government. And this was then able to grow as an agency to oversee, regulate, and hopefully control more of the environment in terms of the hazardous waste, disposal methods, cleanup methods, the pollutants, materials, and also hold responsible parties to more judgment and allow the legal system to do its job and find these parties who are responsible and bring them to justice. And since 1970, the EPA has grown and added more comprehensive acts, both on the clean water, the clean air, the disposal of hazardous waste, and also of nuclear waste. And all these regulations have come from the strengthening of the EPA from 1970. And now, in the 21st century, the EPA is able to have a better grasp on both industrial methods, actions, and the effect we have on the environment and the ability to clean up the environment that we have polluted currently and also in the past. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, and share. And if you want more content and videos on Earth Science, please check out my channel.